Welcome back to the show, Money Talkers. This is a high impact interview with somebody I am so excited for you to talk to. I have Jamie Atkinson. He's the founder of the podcast Profit Lab, which teaches entrepreneurs how to plan and launch strategic and profitable podcasts to create mass movements and change. Welcome to the show, the podcast Junkie, Jamie Atkinson.
What's up, Cody? Super glad to be here. Super excited. It's kind of a bit meta this because podcasting, talking about podcasting and being here, I'm just super thrilled to be able to hopefully bring some value today. It's going to be fun.
Man, if I know one thing that you bring value, because I'm actually one of your students, and this is Jamie has been phenomenal. He's gotten me into joining up with him just for the one fact, the amount of value he brings. So I want to jump right into the really big question, okay? We're going to have we want you to just get in this thing and run. So here's the big question. What is the one thing you could teach about that you feel that our schools don't, but has had a major impact on your life?
Man, this is a tough question, right? I think a lot of people really struggle to have clarity whenever they are in school and whenever they get started, right? What should I do? How should I do it? Should I be this person? Should I be that person? There's a lot of pressure, I think, from parents and from kids in general to do really what their parents want them to do. Not every parent is like this, but I think about the way that I grew up and the way that I was molded. And a lot of the decisions that I made in the beginning of my adult life were based on environmental decisions put to me by people I was surrounded by, my school itself that I went to, my parents and all of that kind of stuff. And I think one of the biggest things that a lot of kids don't get taught is like, how do you find that thing that lights you up, that you're passionate about? We'll get taught about career day and we all get taught about you can do this career, you can do that career. Nobody gets taught about how to figure out like purpose, like what drives you, what really gets you out of bed in the morning. And one of the biggest things that I know this is that I teach adults who struggle with this, right? And a lot of people, especially in the entrepreneurial game, they say, Jamie, like I want to do this product. I want to launch this thing. But like I get 3 weeks into it and I'm just bored, or I just don't have drive, or I don't have energy. And what it usually pulls back to is that they aren't doing something which gives them happiness and fulfillment. And one of the big principles that we teach a lot of inside of our programs is, well, how can you find something that you're excited about that allows you to serve somebody that you want to spend all of your time with? If I could just teach one thing, it would be how to discover your who, right? Like if you're a kid and you absolutely hate sports, right? You just can't stand to be around people who talk about sports all the time. And you recognize that you are an absolute geek and you love geeks to the max, right? And you just love spending your time with that person. Then why not try and figure out how you can go and spend time with those people in your job or your career, right? You don't want to go and be a sports presenter, right? Like talking about something that you hate all the time. You want to figure out, how can I hang out with these people that give me life and enjoyment and fun, right? And whether you decide to be an entrepreneur, whether you decide to create your own business, whether you decide to work for somebody, if you can be in a job or a role where you're serving people that you actually care about hanging out with and spending time with, then you're going to be in a career that you find typically fulfilling. So the first thing I teach is the who, right?
I find that extremely fascinating because like we don't, just thinking about the conversations that we have with kids, we start with the what. Right?
What are you going to do when you grow up?
When you grow up, right? What do you want to be when you grow up? It's all we ever say. We don't ever say like, who do you want to be around and who do you want to serve? That is a completely different paradigm to look at that scenario because, you know, like you said, you're going to spend a third of your life in a work environment. You know, now we have a lot of gig things and that kind of stuff, but like even more, if you're in the gig economy, you're probably going to spend more than a third of your life because you're thinking about it constantly, right? And in who do you want to be around in that part of your life that you get to determine?
Well, here's the thing, like kids are remarkably intelligent, right? And they pick up things incredibly fast. And do you ever, and I don't know, because I have children, but like I have friends who have kids and I know for a fact, like they don't ever sit down and say, where do you enjoy spending, who do you enjoy spending time with, right? Like who are the people that give you energy, right? Are you quiet? Are you subdued? Are you energetic? Do you like to be around these types of people? And I think if you could recognize that and teach these kids about, okay, it's okay to go and pursue who you want to go and spend time with instead of what do you want to be, well, it's actually a much easier question because you're not looking externally for answers, you're looking internally. It's about, well, what do I really enjoy? Like, what do I love spending time with? Which is interesting because when you dig into that, it's more about them as opposed to external reasons, right? Like, you should be a lawyer because it pays well. You should be a doctor because it's a highly regarded career. That's all external factors based on external opinions, based on your parents' opinion, other people's opinion, all that kind of stuff. Whereas when you talk about who you want to spend time with, it's an internal decision. What gives you joy? Who do you enjoy spending your time with? And it's a very small change, but one that opens up these huge possibilities.
Yeah, I really think that that's a great way to look at that, because one of the problems that I always felt with when I was asked that as a kid was like, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, man, I don't even know that many jobs, to be honest with you, when I was 16 years old. Like, I don't know what careers there are, And so
it's
if I
hard,
started
right?
off with where do I want to be with, what kind of people do I want to be around? Then that opens up a lot more possibilities. And that question becomes a lot less daunting, because I know the answer that you're going to get when you ask a 17-year-old, what do you want to be when you grow up? Most of them are going to say, what? I don't know. Right? But you say, hey, man, what kind of people do you want to be around? Do you want to be, and do you want to be around entrepreneurs? Do you want to be around, whatever it is? And who do you want to help? That's a lot easier to think about, and it's a lot easier way to do that. So what I would say right now is we're going to run up, and we're running up on time on our high impact interview. And I think that right now we have hit an actionable point that we can do. So what we want to do, I want you to take those earbuds out. We want you to take the cell phone and put it down and take a minute and think about how you're going to ask your kids, who do they want to serve in life? And look at a career conversation, and not necessarily a career conversation, but more of their journey after they get out of school, and help them find some clarity about who they want to serve, and then leave the possibilities of how they serve them next. Not necessarily.
And even bigger than that, Cody, like, it doesn't even have to be serving, just who do you want to spend your time with? Because the serving will evolve from that, and the what will evolve from that as well. But if you can just dial in and start to understand, like, where do they get energy from? Who lights them up? Who makes them happy? And what type of people are they? Well, then suddenly all of these doors open up, and it's going to be something that they're usually going to feel fulfilled from, because they're working with people that they want to be around.
And you know what? One other thing, and just this is self-serving part for as a parent though, like, there's nothing really more frustrating. Like, what do you want to do when you grow up? And they go, I don't know. And they shut you right back down. But if you could open up the conversation with who do you want to be around as you go out into the world? I think that conversation becomes a lot different and a lot more enjoyable and a lot more fruitful, and you don't get shut down as a parent as well.
I imagine so, right? That's a big one.
I'm not there yet. Mine are 5 and 8, but I can imagine, I know some 16 and 17-year-olds that I said, what do you want to do when you grow up? And they're like, I don't know. And they just walk off. Well, it's tough for them.
Here's an interesting challenge. Why don't you ask your 5 and your 8-year-old who they want to go and spend all their time with? And I'm sure we'll come back and do another episode. Like, let's carry that conversation on. Go and ask them, get them to write down some answers, and we'll discuss it when they come back. And let's figure out, even a young age as that, who do they want to be spending their time with? What are those people like? What are their traits? What are their characteristics? Why do they enjoy spending time with them? What is it that makes them feel good when they spend time with that? Once you start to ask those questions, you start to see inside, right?
Plus, it's not just the answers, right? It's the teaching them to think in that capacity, which is what I really spend my time that I find with is I don't necessarily want to shut down what they say. So if my son says, I want to spend all my time with Pokemon, I'm gonna be like, you can't do that. It's okay, well, why? And you start.
Dude, I'm 28. I still spend time with Pokemon. Nothing wrong with that, right? So, you know what I mean?
We spent Christmas Day playing it all day. So, well, listen, I want to thank you so much for being on, Jamie. We're gonna have to come back and do this again, because I feel like you and I could probably get into some pretty deep conversations on these things. I want to thank you. Listen, if people want to find you, man, how do they get more Jamie Atkinson?
One of the best ways is, if you guys are interested in figuring out how to launch your podcast, absolutely go grab my Podcast Profit Playbook. You guys can head to www.podcastprofitplaybook.com. And the best place to hang out with me is actually in our Facebook group. If you guys head to Facebook and search for Podcasting 101, you guys will find us. It's called 4 Ways to Monetize Your Podcast. Or you can go to facebook.com/groups/Podcasting 101 group.
I got to tell you guys, Jamie brings you more free information, more free value. And I've been watching him in his journey since we both joined 2CCX this past February. Check him out. You won't regret it. Even if you don't want to do a podcast, you're going to get some information and life things that'll get you inspired in there. So thank you, Jamie. Appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Cody. Appreciate it, man.